Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Launch Credit Union Fraud webinar. We are very happy that you all registered and joined us. We've held many seminars in person at our branches, and I'm pretty sure some of you out there may have attended these, but due to COVID, of course, we decided to take these virtual so that you can still get the same great information, but in the comfort and safety of your living room or my kid's spare bedroom or wherever you may be. Just a few housekeeping things. Everyone is muted right now, but we do encourage questions. So please use the chat box feature or the question, where the question mark is, feature, off to the side of your screen to let us know any questions you may have. If you're not familiar with it, it's a box off to the side where you may see presenters, depending on what your computer screen looks like. And you can just type in the questions, and we will either try to answer them along the way, or we may hold off until the end of the webinar to answer them. If you are using an iPad, it may be the question mark at the top of your screen. And as a reminder though, please do not include any personal information like your account number or your social security number or in any chat question. This is a fraud webinar, by the way, so it makes total sense, right? Now our presenters would like to introduce themselves. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kelly. I am the Vice President of Marketing here at Launch. I've been here for about 14 years. I'm a proud UCF Knight, so go Knights. I have a great team of marketing professionals here at Launch. Our job is to make sure that our members know what kind of products and services we have that will help you all most. Plus, we're always looking for new members. So bottom line, we're here to save our members money. So if you're not a member yet, we do invite you to open your account with us, either at any branch, or you can go online to our website at launchcu.com. Evelyn is going to be our main presenter this evening. She is our senior fraud investigator here at Launch. She has more than 25 years in the banking industry. 6 years in fraud, and she's been here with us at Launch helping us and our members out for about 1.5 years. We do have a couple people working behind the scenes on our polls and our questions and our video. That would be Emily and Carly, so you may hear them in the background when they're pulling up the polls and questions and in the video. So now you know who all of our presenters are. Let's go ahead and get started. We do have a poll for you to go ahead and get started. First, we want to know if you are a Launch member or if you're a guest. So if you could please make your choice here on the poll. We'll give you a few seconds to select your answer. I think they're coming in. So while we're waiting for everyone to finish the poll, I have a little joke for you, and it's about fraud. So how did the fish commit fraud? The fish, F-I-S-H, commit fraud? Anyone know? It was a Ponzi scheme. Thank God. Do we have the poll? Okay, yes, 100% of our attendees are members with us. That's awesome. Very good, and thank you so much for being a member with us. We truly appreciate it. And now we have one more poll before we kick off the presentation. This question is, have you ever been a victim of fraud? If you could make your selection. And how about another joke while we're waiting? And I don't hear any no's, so I guess I'll go ahead and tell the joke. Why is it okay? Why is it okay for an ice company to commit fraud? Why is it okay for an ice company to commit fraud? Because their assets are already frozen. I don't have any more jokes. I'm sorry. So I hope the poll, I hope everybody took the poll question or answered the poll question. Are we there? So results are showing that 56% of you have been a victim of fraud. That's rough. So the 44% of you are lucky. So we're going to have lots of information for you on fraud. Evelyn is going to present a lot of information for you, but first we're going to do another little fun thing with this webinar, besides the bad jokes. Evelyn is going to remind everyone again and again throughout the webinar a very, very important thing, that Launch will never ask for your PIN or password. Launch will never call you and ask you for your PIN or your password. So listen for the key phrase. Launch will never ask for your PIN or password. Every time you hear it, every time you hear her mention it, keep track, keep a little piece of paper next to you, write it down. And at the end of the webinar, wait for her to ask you for the number. And then if you're the first one to buzz in, the first one to chat in, actually, in the chat box, with the correct answer, the first person will win a $25 Starbucks e-gift card. So you can get all caffeined up. Cool? All right, so listen for the phrase. And Evelyn, are you ready to go? It's a great time for you to take over now. It's all yours.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me. We're going to talk about 5 different 5 scenarios of fraud. Although fraud, there's multiple ways that fraud occurs, but these are some that are really happening a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of here lately, especially with COVID. A lot of people are at home, a lot of time on their hands. We're going to be talking about spoofing phone numbers, online job applications, romance scams, online loan applications, and tax scams. It is tax season right now, so I think it's a good topic to touch on as well. Next screen, Emily. So the first one we're going to talk about is spoofing, and what is it? So spoofing basically is where you can receive a phone call or an email and or even a website that appears to be a legitimate phone number, or you know, from a known source, or email. It's going to always appear legitimate, but in some form or fashion, it's being spoofed to make it look like it's legitimate, but it's really not. So we'll touch on that a little bit. Next screen, Emily. So here's an example of a spoofed text message. I'm sure several of you have received a text message from a financial institution where it'll tell you to verify a transaction. In this case, it's basically, it appears that it's a Bank of America saying, you know, to follow the link, and you know, on this text message. One thing I do want to bring to your attention is that if you notice that there's a actual phone number at the top, most of these legitimate text messages won't come from a full phone number. It's a shorter digit phone number. So if you can keep that in mind, that might help you along the way. But in this case scenario, it appears to be a legitimate text message coming from Bank of America. Next screen, Emily. So the spoofing phone number, you'll receive a phone call that says, for instance, you may receive a phone call that appears to be Launch Credit Union, and you'll have someone on the phone that says, hi, there's some suspicious activity on your account. Can you verify some information? And obviously they call at the most inopportune times. So you're thinking you have some fraud or something suspicious going on in your account. So you're going to go through these questions with them. Okay. Next screen. The other thing is you'll get a text message as well that says, another way of getting it is a text message that says, can you verify if this transaction is yours or not? And they'll use maybe a department store. They'll say, can you verify that this Macy's transaction is yours or not? Well, you're going to say no, because obviously, you know, you're sitting at home, maybe cooking dinner or just sitting at home, and it's not you. You're going to say, no, that's not my transaction. The minute you reply to no, next screen, you're going to receive a phone call. And this is where the spoofing of the phone number comes in. So it's going to appear to look like it's our phone number calling you saying, hey, so you answered no to our question, you know, our text message that you did not, authorize this transaction, we're going to go through some verification questions. So the fraudster on the other end that spoofed our phone number to get a hold of you is going to ask you questions for verification. They're going to appear to be Launch Credit Union. So they're going to say, one question they do is they'll ask you for is they'll say, can you give us your user ID? So you'll share your user ID with them, thinking that it's a legitimate phone call from us and you're trying to verify this fraudulent transaction. So once you share that user ID, they are on the other end trying to gain access to your digital banking information. So what happens is that when you put in they put in the user ID, it's requesting a PIN number that you're going to, an authentication code that you're going to receive. So they're going to say, we're going to send you a PIN number to verify that we're speaking to the right person. Can you give us the PIN number that you just received? So the minute you give them that PIN number, they are able to go in and change the password on your digital banking and gain access to it this way. But remember, they have spoofed our phone number to make it look like it's us, like it's a legitimate phone call. But the one thing we said in the beginning is Launch will never ask you for a PIN number, and Launch will never ask you for any identifying information like your user ID or your passwords or any security form of information, any kind of PIN numbers to reset any kind of passwords. Launch will never ask you that information. Next screen. So once they've done that and they've logged into your account and they've been able to reset your password, they've logged into the account, they've reviewed the account, capabilities. At that point, they're able to send themselves money. They're able to do an external transfer. They're able to just change all sorts of information. They can change the mailing address, they can change your phone number, but it's definitely an easy way for them to start sending money to themselves once they've gained full access, okay? So remember, Launch, you may get a phone call from us, from our fraud department, asking you to verify transactions, but you'll never get a question, we'll never ask you to give us any PIN numbers, we'll never ask you for any passwords, we'll never try to, go in and gain access to your account. So just remember that. We're never going to ask you for any PIN numbers, any security questions like that. So at this point, they're sending themselves money. Once that money leaves your account, it's gone. There's no way for us to retrieve it back. There's no way for us to change it. And at this point, they've gained access by you giving them that access because they've been able to get the information needed to do that, okay? So remember, if you ever receive a phone call, we're never gonna ask you for a PIN number, we're never gonna ask you for passwords or anything like that, okay? Next screen. If they start asking you for any questions like that, the best case scenario is that you hang up the phone and you call us immediately to verify that information. Even if you feel like you've given them too much information, you can hang up the call, disconnect with them, and pick up the phone and call us and ask us to secure the account. We can, at that point, if you feel like you've shared card number informations or digital banking information, we can go in and lock everything down so that they can't gain full access. During the course of the conversation, you may not know it, but you may have given them part of your card number. There's even questions where they'll ask you for the last 6 digits of your card number. They're still gaining access that way, okay? Remember, Launch is never gonna ask you for that information. We have most of that information here to verify, so we don't need to ask you those what we call security questions, okay? We have different methods of verifying that we're talking to the right person, to our member. most important is that even though it's coming from a phone number that appears to be ours, you want to pay attention to the questions they're asking, because this is where they will ask you some kind of confusing questions, and they try to confuse you in thinking that you have this huge fraud going on in your account so that they can gain the access. Okay, so just remember, the most important thing is we're never going to ask you for that those security questions. The minute that you hear any questions like that, your best course of action is to hang up the phone and call us immediately so that we can secure and safeguard the account. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're gonna go on to fraud scenario number 2, and this is on online job applications. As we all know, with COVID and everything, a lot of people are out there looking for jobs, or we're working from home, so we're looking to make extra money. You may have lost your job or whatnot. There's a lot of fraud out there with these online job applications, so you want to be careful with that. Next slide. So the one thing, when you apply for a job online, you're gonna, not a legitimate one, right? We're gonna talk about a fraudulent job online. You're gonna receive a text message, or you're gonna receive a phone call, or an email saying that you have, you got this job. They will immediately start asking you some questions. Next slide, please. They're going to start asking you some questions via email for you to provide your online account information, your bank account information, your routing number, your checking account number, so that they can do a payroll deposit. However, they're also going to ask you for your digital banking information. And this is where they take advantage of the digital banking information so that they can do a direct deposit. They're going to call it a direct deposit. So once they do this direct deposit, they will then call you or text message you and say, we have sent you some money. However, we overpaid you, so we're going to need you to send some back. You know, we meant to send it to a different account, or we meant to, you know, only send you a portion of it. You know, we put in too many digits. There's many scenarios that they'll use to make it look as though they made the mistake and that they need you to send that money back. then they're also going to say, or they may say, or use part of the money to purchase equipment to work out of the home. You know, go purchase a computer, go purchase different equipment. And however, go ahead and send us that money back because we still overpaid you. So send us the money back. And what they're hoping for is that when you go to your financial institution, one, this money has been mobile deposited, that there's no hold on the funds, or that you have enough funds in there that you're going to send them your own money back, even though there may be a hold on that mobile deposit. Okay. Keep in mind that a legitimate employer is not going to ask you for your digital banking information, a mobile deposit, a check, you know, and a legitimate employer is also going to want to have a conversation with you. They're going to want to have a Zoom call with you, or maybe even meet you in person. You know, they're not going to send you money just without even meeting you or getting, you know, some information, you know, about this, who you are and whatnot. Okay. Remember, sharing your online digital information is gives them access to do just about anything when you share your digital banking information. It allows them to send money and whatnot. Okay, so if we can keep that in mind, we never want to share that information. Like I said, most legitimate companies are going to require virtual or in-person interview. And until you've met with someone, either in person or virtually, and you've done a little bit of research to make sure that the company is legit, you don't want to share any information. There's even fraudulent people that are posing as real companies out there, even on Indeed or different job sites. So be very careful when applying for a job. I always say if it's too good to be true, then it's probably not a good thing. And if someone overpays you or says they sent you too much money, you know, your best bet is to give us a call right away and discuss it with us, and we can walk you through the steps, you know, just to make sure that it's legitimate. Next slide. So this is fraud scenario number 3, online dating and romance scams. There's a lot of this going around out there. Again, we're working from home, or a lot of, you know, we may have you know, a lot of companies have shut down, or a lot of people are home nowadays. So due to COVID, so, and people are lonely. The other thing that a lot of people do is put things out on social media. You know, they may have lost their pet or may have lost a loved one. So, and it makes you an easy target when you're doing that, because the fraudsters are out there, and they have access to Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, you know, and that's how they target a lot of this. A lot of people that have lost a loved one, or they also go on dating sites. Romance scams, I'm going to tell you, these happen every day. They fall in love with you really quick, and they profess this love with sight unseen or anything. If you 2020, romance scams were up nearly 50% from 2019. Again, and that's because everybody was home. You know, with romance scams, it's really interesting the way it happens, and I've dealt with these a lot. The scammer or the person on the other end that's able to do the scamming, or you know, is really good at convincing that it's a real thing. It's really good. They're really good at convincing a person that they're in a foreign country and they need money to get back. And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of us fall prey of it because we're lonely, or because we put a lot of stuff on social media. The biggest thing I can tell you is that if they're not willing to meet you locally for a cup of coffee, or someone's asking you for money right away, don't continue to have that conversation with them, because all they're going to do is take money from you. You're never going to meet them in person. They're never going to come around, and chances are they're in a foreign country. You know, the other thing that they do is they will lure you to get off of the dating site and to go into a different messaging board. Not so much, there's several of them that are out there, and that's because they can't be traced, okay? And that's why they have you get off of the dating site website and go onto these messaging sites, because they can't be traced. The other thing is that they'll say that they need money for an emergency because they're stranded. They'll say that one of their kids is in the hospital and they need to get money to them. However, they're in a foreign country and they can't get the money to them. So what they do is that they will even have money sent to you from someone. The money will go to you, and then they'll ask you to forward that money over to somebody else. So you'll wire the money out to somebody else. So meanwhile, they're using you as what we call a mule to transfer money from one account to another. And you don't even know who you're dealing with or what the funds are for. So you want to be really careful. Again, online dating is scary because you don't know who you're dealing with on the other end. Again, the minute they ask you for money or finances, or even if they ask you for $5, your best bet, get off the site. And remember, no one should be asking you about your finances. It's definitely a sign of, bad things to come down the road if they're asking you about your finances. So like I said, it's out there. Online dating is a thing out there. You just have to be really careful and run if they tell you if they're asking you about your finances. Next screen. Again, the person tells you that they're in love with you. They'll even they even go as far as saying that they're having dinner with you because they're doing a Zoom call, or they're doing they're on FaceTime, and they'll pretend to be eating dinner with you. I mean, they're very convincing. Remember, you never want to share your finances with someone. If they're asking you about your finances, or they're asking you to send them money, or they're even asking you for your account information so they can send you money so that you can hold on to it for them, or you can send it to somebody else, you don't want to do that. You don't ever want to share your account information, okay? Most importantly is you don't know where the funds are coming from. You don't know if somebody else isn't being scammed the way they're doing to you. So online dating should not entail, it should have nothing to do with your finances. Keep that in mind. Even if they tell you they're in the military and they're in a foreign country. For a long time, the US Army had a thing on their site that said, something about online dating, and they had a warning on there because so many people were saying that, they were in the military and stuck overseas. So, again, keep in mind that online dating, finances should never come up. That's the most important thing. Finances should never come up. You should never transfer money for someone that you haven't met in person. You don't know what the funds are being used for. You don't know, for all you know, you could get stuck in some kind of activity that's not legal. So just be careful. Make sure you're using a legitimate dating site if you're going to use the online dating to meet someone. If you think you're being scammed, report it to the dating site, because they do block those people that are out there trying to scam others. So again, remember, you don't share finances with anybody. Remember that Launch Credit Union won't ever ask you for your information. So, it's really important for you to help us safeguard your account. Okay. Next screen, please. The next scenario is online loan application scams. There's been a lot of scams out there. Again, during this pandemic, a lot of people were applying for loans, and they were going to online applications from like lending different lending organizations. And what the fraudster was doing was that they were, it appeared to be a legitimate site, but it wasn't. Almost like that spoofing that we talked about in the beginning. They changed whether it was a dot, for example, lendingtree.com, they were using lendingtree.net or something different. So, so that it appeared to be a legitimate lending site. Okay. There's a lot of loan applications out there that are loan companies that appear to be legitimate that are fraudulent. So you want to be really careful. It's always best to go to your financial institution for a personal loan and try there first. So again, always use your financial institution to apply for a loan. And then be careful when you're going to these external lending companies, because you don't know what you're dealing with. It's best to always visit visit an office if you can, if possible. And a lot of them are opening back up, so it's best to always go to an office. But like I said, always go to your financial institution first, your primary institution. Next screen. So scammers have, once scammers have information to your account, or they've gained access, they can send mobile deposits to themselves. They can do so many things. And what will happen with these fraudulent online loan applications is that they'll tell you you're approved. And once you've given them your digital banking information, because somehow, again, they gain access to that through the multiple questions that they'll ask you, they'll do a mobile deposit into your account, and then turn around and have them call you and say, well, hey, you know what, we've sent you too much money, send it back. Or, they've overpaid you for the, let you borrow too much money. So if the loan was supposed to be for $500, they gave you $5,000 and they want you to send them $4,500 back. So again, that's why it's always best to go to your primary financial institution for any lending needs that you might have. Okay. Next screen. Remember, as I said, it's best to go in person if you're not applying through your primary financial institution. See if the site that you're using, even if it's, let's say, LendingTree or one of these other, lending offices, see if they have a local office you can visit. You want to be able to visit an office, or you want to be able to do the research before you go applying and putting in all of your personal information online. Again, like I've said, you want to consider using your primary institution first prior to going to an external source, another source that you may not have enough information on, okay, or that may not be a legitimate site online. There's a lot of them out there that appear to be legitimate, but they're not. They're actually spoofing a legitimate company's information to appear to be legitimate, okay. Sometimes you'll even get emails that will say something about, do you need you're pre-approved for a loan, you're pre-approved for this, hit the link below. You never want to hit a link on your account, on your computer. You never want to hit a link on an email that you don't know who it's coming from, okay? So even though, again, you may need to apply for a loan, or you may need some funds, some extra cash, it's always best to go to your primary institution first and start there, okay? Next screen. So here's another video.
Have you ever picked up your phone and heard someone say, "We'll cancel your social security card"? If so, you may have experienced a tax scam. These scams involve people threatening to cancel your social security card for an unpaid tax bill. The IRS says if you receive one of these calls, to hang up immediately. Remember, the IRS initiates contact with most taxpayers through regular mail. If you receive a call or email from someone claiming to be from the IRS, this could be a scam.
Evelyn, I think you're on mute. Hold on a sec.
Yep, there we go.
And this poll question, if everyone could please take this poll question. Do you have identity theft protection on your accounts? I know I don't. It's probably something that you need to consider. So we'll give you just a few more minutes to take this poll. And do we have we'll wrap this up. Looks like 30% do, 60% do not, and 10%. What is that? I think I fall into, probably that 10% category. So Evelyn, can you tell us a little bit about theft protection?
Sure. So identity theft protection is something like LifeLock or something like that. It's basically some form of protection out there on your Social Security number that will immediately notify you if someone's applied for any kind of credit under your Social Security number. It's basically just what it is. It's protecting your identity. Anytime something happens, and especially now with everything going on. But the other thing, besides identity theft protection, a lot of your cards or your credit cards, I'm sure you've seen it, you can set up text alerts and stuff. That's another form of protection. So any kind of protection that they offer you that's even free is better than not having anything. I always say, when I have a situation I'm dealing with a member that may have been a victim of fraud in some form or fashion, I always refer them to even Credit Karma. It's free. You can set up text alerts. It tells you if someone's applied for credit in your name or if your credit profile has changed in any way. But it's definitely a good idea to see, to have as many ways out, to have as many things signed up for as you can, with even just a text message or some form of messaging that says, hey, something's going on with your credit report, or even if it's on your credit card where you set it, where there's text alerts and it says, hey, you recently had a charge over $500. I know I have one of my cards that allows me to set a text alert on there like that. And believe it or not, it may not save that first transaction, but it can alert you of something big happening, because I can tell you, these fraudsters, these scammers, it doesn't take them long to take someone with a nice credit score of 700s, 800s, credit score down to 500, and it just takes them a matter of days, because they start applying to every creditor out there. And before you know it, I'm not going to tell you that it's too late, but it takes forever to correct those negative scores on your credit and all the negative impact that it causes. It's a huge domino effect, because it affects everything. Right now, annualcreditreport.com, you could pull that once a week to review it. It used to be once a year you could get a copy of your credit report. Well, now they're allowing you to view it more often, because the amount of identity theft that's gone up in the last year since the pandemic. So highly recommended that you have some form of protection. If you're not looking to use your credit at all anytime soon, you can definitely go out there and put a freeze on your credit, put a block on there. If you're not looking to make any large purchases where they're needing to pull credit, why not? It's not going to hurt anything. If anything, it's going to protect you from becoming a victim of identity theft. Okay. Next screen. Again, if you've been a victim of identity theft or victim of fraud, you can go to ftc.gov to report it. There's different types of fraud you can report out there. But if you feel like your account's been compromised, or you have received a call from somebody that has identified themselves as launch, and you feel like you've given them too much information, you can always reach out to me. My extension's 1252. I can help you with the fraud, or how you can better protect yourself. Again, we're here to protect our members from minimizing any impact with fraud. You know, you may receive a call from me one day that trying to verify information that maybe there's something going on the account, you know. But remember, the most important thing is I'm never going to ask you for a PIN number. I'm never going to ask you for your passwords. Okay. When in doubt, or you feel like you've received a phone call and you're just not sure, or you're not sure that you've shared information or not that maybe you shouldn't have, the best course of action is to call us immediately so that we can safeguard the account. And, you know, we may recommend a new account number, you know, an account number change. We may block your card, your debit card, so that it's not compromised. So there's a lot of measures we can take to protect you, okay? But the only way we can protect you is, or one of the most important ways is, if you can remember, you never share your information with anybody. No legitimate company will ever ask you for your username, passwords, or PIN numbers, or secured access codes, or the 3-digit code on the back of your card. You know, no one should ever ask you for that information. So most importantly, launch is never going to ask you for that, okay?
So one of the questions that came in, you actually just answered, which was, how do I protect myself from identity theft? Also, is there anything that Launch offers that can assist with that?
There's text alerts that you can set up on your account. You definitely want to set up any text alerts that are out there with your digital banking, you know, and that way you can be alerted of things like that.
Okay, and then we had another question that came in. It says, if you make the call to the company, do they send the code for verification?
In some cases, I've seen where they send you a code, but you have placed that call to your creditor. They haven't called you. You called them. That most important, real important, is if you call them, you're calling the legitimate number. You know that you're calling them directly. You're not getting a phone call from them.
And so far, that's all I see in the question box. You answered everybody's questions during your presentation.
Yay.
I have a question for you. This is Kelly again. So you mentioned annualcreditreport.com, and you mentioned that I know ordinarily we can only pull from there, I think, twice a year. So tell me about how they're letting you pull more often now.
Due to COVID, they are allowing you to pull it once a week so that you can review it. Because identity theft had really skyrocketed with the pandemic and everything, they're allowing you to pull it once a week so that you can review your credit file, just to make sure that there's no anomalies on there, or something that maybe you didn't approve on there, and you could take action a little sooner than waiting, you know, for that 6 months, or till, you know, you receive something in the mail that, you know, you're going, oh, I didn't apply for that.
And my other question was, you had mentioned putting a stop on credit pulls. Do I do that through annualcreditreport.com or through my individual, how do I do that?
So the way I've always done it is I've gone through the individual. I use Experian.com. They have a free service, and you can go on there and block it. You can just freeze it. You know, it's especially if you're not going to purchase anything, you can put a block on it. And it just prompts you. What'll happen is, if you were to apply for something, they're going to most recently, when I was going through the course of purchasing my home and going through financing, I had to go in there and unblock it so that they could view the credit report. They couldn't view it. But that's okay. You know, I'd rather go through that, a little bit of aggravation there, a little bit of, inconvenience, and go in and unblock it myself and allow them the access to it, than to have it out there where it's open to anybody that's looking to, commit any kind of fraudulent activity on my credit bureaus. So I always recommend putting a block on it, or at the very least reviewing it, more often than not.
And are you seeing fraud increasing right now during COVID?
Yes. This is the most fraud I've seen in the 6 years I've been in the fraud industry. It's coming from all angles. Romance scams, believe it or not, sad to say, I get a case, about 2 cases a week on that. And that's sad, because by the time it reaches me, people are sending out a lot of money, we're home. A lot of us are home, we may be single, or we may have lost a loved one. So romance scams are probably the ones I see a lot of, for something that wasn't as common. It was common, but not as common. That's had a huge increase. Again, the online banking jobs, the stimulus payments, even those are huge. Stimulus payments are only going to come from the IRS. They're not coming from, they're not going to come from, if you're living in the state of Florida, you shouldn't be receiving stimulus or unemployment from state of Washington. There was a lot of unemployment fraud. So, and that's what the fraudster's doing. They're using your identity to basically go apply for unemployment in other states, or to apply for loans, from some of these lenders. So you have to be really careful, and that's why I highly recommend reviewing the credit, or at the very least, or putting a block on it if you're not going to use it.
Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, going once, going twice. No more questions? Well, thank you, Evelyn. We really appreciate all of your valuable knowledge in this area, really. I think you shared a lot of great information, and hopefully everyone who tuned in learned a little something. I know I did. Yeah. So now, if you recall, we challenged you all to keep listening, and for the keywords of what were your keywords, Evelyn?
Launch Credit Union will never ask you for a PIN number or for any passwords.
Correct. And now's your chance if you want to chime in and tell us what your guess of how many times she said that. I know I was keeping track, and Carly was keeping track behind the scenes. So if you want a chance at winning a $25 Starbucks e-gift card, go ahead and put your number in the question box. Are we getting some? The first person who guesses the correct answer.
Nancy just guessed 9.
Nancy guessed 9.
And then we just had a guess for 7. And for 16. So we're not there yet, but we're very close.
Anybody else have one? I can tell you none of you are correct.
They try again, because it's the first person to get it correct, right?
Yep, guess again. Any of you who already guessed? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody guessing again? Still not seeing it.
No, I guess again, but not.
I think we need to take the closest to the pin then. Would
Okay.
be
It would be Nancy
not-
with 9.
it would be Nancy with 9. Yep, Nancy, you are the winner. Congratulations. And I will send you an gift card to Starbucks for $25. And the correct answer actually is 11. Yeah, Evelyn, you mentioned it 11 times. So that was awesome. All right. So thank you, everyone. I'll turn my camera back on as I finish this up. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We will be hosting additional webinars in the future. So be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all of our social media sites and our website for dates of future webinars coming up in the very near future. So our webinars are always listed on our calendar, so check that out. You will be receiving a follow-up email from us with a link to this recorded webinar, and there is a survey as you exit this webinar. So please take a moment to share your feedback. We really do appreciate it. So everyone, please stay safe and stay well, and thank you, and have a great rest of your evening from lunch. Take care.